What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another sports podcast. This is an NBA sports podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs. The first round is going to be starting, I believe, on Saturday. So, let me just run down through the list of teams who are in the playoffs as well as the teams who did not make the playoffs this year. But for the first time in 15 years, I believe it is, or maybe even 14 years, LeBron James is not in the playoffs. Absolutely insane how that works, but it is what it is. You cannot say that he wasn't the most consistent player of all time. Now, I ended up learning yesterday a player who has never missed the playoffs is J.J. Redick. He has made the playoffs every year of his career. It's amazing how he is one of those players who is the most consistent player in playing on the teams who do make the playoffs each and every year. Awesome to say that, but that's a little fun fact that I learned yesterday. So let's jump into the NBA playoffs, 2019 NBA playoffs first round. We're going to start off with the Eastern Conference matchups for you all. The number 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks will be going up against the 8 seed Detroit Pistons. The number 4 seed Boston Celtics will be going up against the number 5 seed Indiana Pacers. The number 3 seed Philadelphia 76ers will be going up against the number 6 seed Brooklyn Nets. And the number 2 seed Toronto Raptors will be going up against the number 7 seed Orlando Magic. When I am finished labeling all the matchups for you all, I will then end up giving you all my predictions for who's going to advance. The Western Conference playoffs. The number 1 seed Golden State Warriors will be going up against the number 8 seed Los Angeles Clippers. The number 4 seed Houston Rockets will be going up against the number 5 seed Utah Jazz. The number 3 seed Portland Trail Blazers will be going up against the number 6 seed Oklahoma City Thunder. The number 2 seed Denver Nuggets will be going up against the number 7 seed San Antonio Spurs. Now, my predictions for the Eastern matchups. I believe the Milwaukee Bucks will beat the Detroit Pistons. I believe that it is a tough match trying to decide in between the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers, mainly because if the Indiana Pacers had Victor Oladipo, I would strongly consider them, but I am going to go with the Boston Celtics due to the fact that they are trying to get that team chemistry back. They have been working on it all season, and now they have arrived into the playoffs as a 4 seed, but they are going up against a team who is fantastic on the defensive side of the ball in Indiana, and we'll see how it plays out. Home court advantage, it is going to start off with the Boston Celtics. So the first 2 games are going to be played in Boston, and the second 2 games are going to be played in Indiana. So it's definitely going to be interesting, but I do believe the Celtics will survive and advance. We go to Philadelphia versus Brooklyn. I believe the Philadelphia 76ers will win this series here, mainly because of everything they do have. When you have Boban Marjanovic shooting 3-pointers, a 7-footer shooting 3-pointers, that's a whole problem. And it's not like he's their starter. Joel Embiid is the starter. If he's healthy and if Ben Simmons plays to his best at the point guard position, I believe that the 76ers will survive and advance as well, mainly because of all the firepower. Not even talking about Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris on their squad. And, of course, J.J. Redick, as I mentioned earlier, him making the playoffs every year of his career. That's amazing. So, yes, the Philadelphia 76ers will survive and advance against the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Brooklyn Nets do have pieces. They have D'Angelo Russell. They have Spencer Dinwiddie, who I think may still be injured. I'm not quite sure, so please don't quote me on that. But it's just one of those things in the playoffs. You need 2 to 3 star players, because if you don't have 2 to 3 star players, you will not win a playoffs single-handedly by yourself. Just ask that to James Harden. Okay, moving on. We got the Toronto Raptors versus the Orlando Magic. I believe it is going to be an easier match here with the Toronto Raptors. They will not have much of a problem with the Orlando Magic because when you look at the Raptors, they have the defense, they have the scoring, they have the role players. They have the players who can score at any minute. And even I was looking at a stat, even the Raptors, the Toronto Raptors, okay, without Kawhi, they're better. Like, how does that make any sense? It's kind of the same concept with last season and the Boston Celtics. Without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, they advanced and continued to advance until they met LeBron in the Eastern Conference Finals. But other than that, there is no LeBron in the Eastern Conference. So any one of these teams from the East can make it into the NBA Finals. And my picks are between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Toronto Raptors. One of those teams is going to make the finals. I can tell you that right now. But I will be picking the Toronto Raptors in this series against the Magic due to the fact that everything they do have, including a nice squad coming off the bench. Marc Gasol is over there as well. It's Kawhi. It's Pascal Siakam. It's Kyle Lowry. They have a lot of firepower and a lot of scoring threats on their team. So Toronto will advance against the Orlando Magic. Now, after looking at the East, it is going to be Milwaukee advancing, Boston advancing, Philadelphia advancing, and Toronto advancing. And when I'm picking these, I am thinking about what players they do have and how much firepower and scoring and how they can play defense. Obviously, there is a quote out there where it says defense wins championships, which that is true in the fact of college basketball this season with Virginia Tech winning the NCAA basketball tournament. But in the playoffs, it is crazy. There are players you have never heard of who have star performances in the playoffs because that is the prime time moment to do so on national television. But yeah, Milwaukee's advancing, Boston's advancing, Philadelphia and Toronto are all advancing into the next round. And that is when the playoffs will get more interesting. Now, we go to the West. The Golden State Warriors versus the Los Angeles Clippers. I'm just going to be honest. When you have a starting five of all-stars, there is no reason you should be losing in the first round to a LA Clippers team who's scrappy, and they will not give up. That's for sure. But when you have so many weapons on the court at the same time, there's only so much you can do with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. If you try to double-team one player, which I believe that's what the Clippers are going to be doing in the playoffs, they are going to let Draymond Green shoot his threes, and he may brick them. So it's just one of those things where they know what they're doing, and I believe it's going to be tough, though, with Curry, Durant, Klay, and, of course, Boogie Cousins, who can also shoot the three ball. It's just way too much for the Clippers to overcome, and I believe since, as well as the Warriors having home court advantage, they're going to survive in advance pretty easily. Do not be surprised if they sweep the Clippers, in my opinion, of course. The Houston Rockets and the Utah Jazz. Now, Utah was a surprise last season. It's going to be interesting because if CP3 is healthy and Clint Capella is healthy and James Harden is scoring the way he scored in the regular season, I believe the Rockets are going to handle them in 5 games. So Utah will steal a game. Maybe when they're playing at home, they may steal a game. But, yeah, I believe the Houston Rockets will not have much of a struggle or a problem with the Utah Jazz. But then again, Harden has to try his best in the playoffs. How he did in the regular season was fantastic. He may just win the MVP over Giannis or Giannis. I like to say Giannis because it's more not as Italian, but Giannis. He is just on another level, and it should be interesting to see what he does in the postseason as well. But I have the Rockets winning in 5 games. I believe the Jazz will steal one on their home court. Portland versus Oklahoma City. Now, this is an evenly matched series, and the reason I say that is because both of these teams have 2 star players, but who has the better big man? After the injury to the Portland Trailblazers center, it was tough. It was tough to see that injury. Now, what is interesting to me is that Oklahoma City have Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams, Paul George, and an okay bench. Not a fantastic bench, but if Russell Westbrook can continue to play how he played in the regular season for the 3rd straight season, averaging a triple-double, which no one has ever done before, not even back-to-back, it's amazing. He definitely deserves a lot of a lot of credit for that. Yes, a lot of people on Twitter were saying, oh, he's padding his stats. Yes, obviously he wants to be the best player or the greatest point guard of all time. The problem is, though, can you be considered the greatest point guard of all time without leading your team to a championship? Well, hey, only time will tell there, but it should be interesting. And I believe in this series, it's going to be close. It may go to 6 or 7 games. The Portland Trail Blazers and Oklahoma City Thunder, due to how Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum score. It should be interesting to see what OKC can do, especially with a fantastic regular season playing on defense. But I do have Oklahoma City Thunder surviving and advancing in 6 or 7 games. It is going to be a close and tight-knit series, so definitely keep your eye on that matchup there. And last but not least, the Denver Nuggets versus the San Antonio Spurs. I live in Colorado, so obviously, yes, it may be a little bit of bias, but I am going to say this in the sense that most regular season performances do not translate to the playoffs, and if you don't have playoff experience, it's going to be tough. Now, San Antonio has playoff experience, but do they have the firepower to contend with Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, and Nikola Jokic? I don't believe they do, especially since the Nuggets are going to have home court advantage and that mile-high air. Trust me, it is a thing. It works to perfection most times, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Nuggets play against the Spurs. But I believe the Nuggets will survive in advance, and we'll see who they face in the next round. They will win it in 5 or 6 games, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, you all. Thank you so much for listening. Those are my predictions. Those are what is going to be, and that is what is going to be happening in the NBA playoffs. Come on, speak. And I will keep you all updated. I will keep you all updated as a series ends. I will have the stats and everything like that, just to make sure that you all are up to date on what's going on in the playoffs and how I feel, and see if my predictions are correct. So, one more time, what we're going to do is I'm just going to run straight through, and my predictions for the teams to survive and advance. Milwaukee is going to advance. Boston is going to advance. Philadelphia is going to advance. Toronto is going to advance. Golden State will advance. Houston will advance. Oklahoma City will advance. And the Denver Nuggets will advance. So, what we will do, of course, will be go back in time and listen to my predictions and see if I was correct in who survived in the first round and advanced. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you all did enjoy this podcast. A little short and quick one, but those are my predictions of the playoffs. It should be a fun one. And hey, you never know. There may be some upsets in there. But that's it. Thank you so much for listening. Like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace.